Welcome to the AI Brief from the YPO Technology Network. I'm Stephen Forte. On today's episode, Microsoft and OpenAI quietly tore up the most lucrative partnership in tech history, Uber burned its entire 2026 AI budget before May, and Beijing blocked Meta from buying its way into the agent race. Three stories, one thread: the honeymoon era of enterprise AI is over. Let me say that again because it deserves the wait. For 3 years, the conversation in your boardroom has been about whether to do AI. This week, 3 stories landed that changed the conversation to how much it will cost you, who you will buy it from, and what the geopolitical risk looks like. Different question, different stakes. Same Monday. Story 1, the Microsoft OpenAI restructure. For 5 years, the door to enterprise OpenAI was Azure. If you were a Fortune 500 buying ChatGPT class capability, you bought it from Microsoft. That door just opened. Here is what happened. On Monday, April 27th, Microsoft and OpenAI both published blog posts confirming a complete restructure of their partnership. The license is non-exclusive through 2032. OpenAI can now sell its models on AWS Bedrock, Amazon's enterprise AI marketplace, where companies pick which model to plug into their workflows within weeks, per Andy Jassy, Amazon CEO. Google Cloud is almost certainly next. Microsoft still owns a significant minority position in OpenAI. OpenAI keeps paying Microsoft a cut of revenue, but the meter now stops at a fixed ceiling. Both clouds are now paying serious money to keep their seat at the table. The piece most coverage is missing is the architectural divide. Azure becomes the home for stateless API calls, fast, simple, transactional. AWS gets exclusive third-party distribution of Frontier, OpenAI's enterprise agent platform, the orchestration layer above the raw model, and pairs it with Agent Core, AWS's new infrastructure for agents that need to remember context across long-running tasks. That split matters for how work actually flows. Stateless calls are fire and forget. Stateful agents remember what happened 3 steps ago, which is how they complete a 20-step procurement workflow without losing the thread. If your agentic roadmap is serious, you now need both. Here is my read. This was not a strategic evolution. This was a settlement. Microsoft was reportedly weighing legal action over the February deal that put Frontier on AWS, a deal that violated the prior contract. OpenAI got what it wanted by acting first and negotiating after. That is a power dynamic shift worth naming. A CIO's job just got harder and easier. Harder, because they now have to make an actual model decision per workload. Claude from Anthropic, OpenAI's main rival for long context document analysis. GPT for general reasoning and tool use, Gemini for cheap and fast retrieval, an open weight model for on-prem or sovereign deployments. Easier, because they finally can make that decision without being told use Azure or rebuild. The model becomes a swappable component again. 3 things land on your CIO's desk this quarter. Multi-cloud AI is now table stakes. You can credibly RFP across Azure, AWS, and soon Google for the same OpenAI workload, and the leverage shifts to the buyer for the first time since 2022. Serious agentic deployments now require both clouds. Azure for the stateless API, AWS for stateful Frontier and Agent Core. And the data sovereignty posture is not the same on both sides. Azure OpenAI service has a different audit profile than Bedrock. The deeper shift is that AI vendor lock-in is becoming a strategic posture, not a default. If you can run the same agent on 3 clouds against 4 model families, your negotiation leverage in 2027 looks fundamentally different than it did a month ago. If I were sitting in your seat this quarter, I'd put 2 items on the next executive committee agenda. Reopen every multi-year Azure AI commitment that was signed under exclusivity assumptions. And tell your CIO to deliver a written multi-cloud AI architecture by end of Q2, because if you don't ask, you will get a single cloud answer optimized for whoever has the loudest sales rep. Story 2. While you were processing that, your cost structure was quietly detonating. This is the Tokenmaxxing story, and the number that should hold your attention is this. Uber's CTO disclosed last week that the company exhausted its entire 2026 AI budget before May. 4 months, the whole year's allocation, gone. Tokens, by the way, are the unit AI companies bill on roughly 3/4 of an English word. Every word an AI reads, every word it writes, every step of an agent's internal reasoning is tokens. Tokens are the meter on the wall. A few more numbers. Anthropic saw one user generate a $150,000 bill in a single month. And inside Meta, an internal leaderboard tracked token usage across 85,000 employees. One documented agentic loop using LangChain, an open source framework engineers use to chain AI calls together, ran for 11 days and burned $47,000. Here is what is actually happening. Employees figured out the leaderboard measured consumption, not output. So they ran agents on busy work. They left loops running overnight. They opened parallel sessions to climb the rank. Goodhart's law in real time. When a measure becomes a target, it stops being a good measure. The vendors are now rationing. GitHub Copilot, Microsoft's coding assistant, ChatGPT for engineers, paused new individual signups on April 20th and tightened weekly token caps. Anthropic blocked third-party harnesses for pro users after some hit 10 to 50 times cost spikes. Now, give the buyers credit. The ramp data, which covers 50,000 businesses through their corporate card platform, is unambiguous. Top quartile AI spenders more than doubled revenue. Bottom quartile grew 12%. AI spend is not the problem. AI spend without governance is most token bills aren't a vendor problem. They are a model selection problem. Engineers reach for Opus, Anthropic's most powerful model, on every request because it's familiar. Half those requests would run for 10 cents on Haiku, Claude's lightweight sibling, and finish faster. That choice happens at the prompt layer, not the procurement layer, which is exactly where governance is hardest. Here is the math problem your CFO needs to understand. A single API call looks cheap, 5 to 20 cents, but agentic loops compound on context. A session that starts at 5,000 input tokens may be sending 80,000 token inputs by step 30. The cost structure is not linear. It is closer to n squared. If I were sitting in your seat this quarter, I'd do 3 things this month. Name an AI FinOps owner. FinOps is the cloud cost discipline practice that emerged a decade ago after AWS bills started exploding. If you don't have one yet, you are in the bottom 2% of organizations still managing AI spend informally. Put per engineer token caps with hard kill switches at the API layer, not after the fact alerts. After the fact alerts are how you find out your spend in a board meeting and measure outcomes, not consumption. As Yamini Rangan, the HubSpot CEO, put it last week, outcome maxing beats token maxing. That is the line your engineering leadership needs to hear from you, not from a vendor. Story 3, 60 seconds, because the geopolitical shoe dropped on Monday, too. China's NDRC, the National Development and Reform Commission, Beijing's economic and M&A regulator, ordered Meta to unwind its $2 billion acquisition of Manus, an autonomous agent platform built by Chinese engineers, then re-domiciled to Singapore, then bought by Meta in December. The notice was one line. No justification. The co-founders had already been barred from leaving China during the review. The signal that matters, Singapore washing is dead. Beijing's message to every Chinese AI founder thinking about relocating is that where you incorporate does not extinguish Chinese regulatory jurisdiction over your talent and your IP. Days later, Beijing told Moonshot AI, StepFun, and ByteDance, those are leading Chinese AI labs, ByteDance being the parent of TikTok, that they need NDRC approval before accepting U.S. capital. Here's your takeaway. If you have any cross-border AI M&A on your roadmap, talent, acqui-hire, agent platform, anything with Chinese origin founders or IP, your diligence has to assess Chinese regulatory risk based on origin of talent and IP, not just legal domicile. 3 stories, 1 thread. The vendor relationship you have with AI is changing, the cost structure inside your company is changing, and the geopolitical map of cross-border AI deals is changing. The honeymoon is over. The procurement, governance, and diligence work that should have started a year ago. It starts now. That is the YPO Tech Network AI brief for Friday, May 1st, 2026. I am Stephen Forte. If this was useful, send it to a fellow member. I will be back Monday with more. Until then, stay sharp.